Thanks for joining me. When we go to an air show, we all like taking photos of the planes, whether they're propeller driven planes or fighter jets. We just get an adrenaline rush by being there. Last weekend, I went to the Pacific Air Show on the Gold Coast and I had an amazing time. But I also took some amazing videos of the planes like these roulettes here. Look at this. This is just amazing. But a month ago, when I uploaded the video on YouTube, I stated that this year I wasn't going to do too much videos because it is so hard to do. But I got some new gear. Between that time, I changed my mind. I said, well, I'm still going to try to take some videos because for me, a photo is a snapshot in time. It just gives you more of an adrenaline rush, and it also shows people saying like, hey, I saw these roulettes and they were just doing stunts, or I saw Matt Hall just spinning his plane around in the sky. People see that and they go like, wow, that would have been amazing to see. Today, I'm going to share some tips on how to take amazing plane videos at an air show, because although it's difficult, it's not that hard to do. There's just some few simple rules that you have to understand when you go to an air show to take good videos. The first thing is you can't just handhold your camera like this. I shoot with a Nikon Z6II and the Nikon 200-500mm. That is around 3.2 kilos of gear. And trying to shoot videos, even if you're very good at holding the camera stable, you're just going to be going up, down, sideways, whatever, and it's just not going to work. Taking photos is fine, but taking videos is not. The second thing, you need a good tripod. You need something to anchor your gear to the ground. Once your tripod is on the ground, it needs to be level, or else you're going to have videos like this. The plane's coming in, you can see that the horizon is on an angle, then it becomes straight, then it goes on an angle again. Why? Because my tripod hadn't been correctly leveled. I thought it was, and as soon as I took that video, I go like, I could see it in the viewfinder. I stopped and I got it level again. If the planes are just up in the sky, it's not too bad. But if you're going to do something, I tell people you do it correctly. You do it the right way. Because if you start cutting corners, when you start doing something, you're going to be cutting corners for the rest of the time that you do something like that. Learn to make sure that your tripod is correctly level and you won't have a problem. The next thing is your tripod head. There are so many tripod heads available. We have a bald head. Forget about the bald head. The bald head, even when you take photos at an air show, it's very unreliable because it just flops around everywhere. And like I stated, you want it level. So you want to be able to keep your photos level, going left to right, right to left, or going up. The bald head is not going to do that for you. Next, we have a pan and tilt head, like this Leo Photo pan and tilt head that I have here. It is a great pan and tilt head, and I've used it for quite a long time now when I take photos and videos of birds. But my problem with this head is that when I'm going from left to right, it is not a smooth motion. There's a little bit of jerkiness there. And also when I'm going tilting up and down, it's not that smooth. I get a bit of jerkiness, which means I've got to cut the video or just take very short videos. This is okay if you have one. We have a gimbal. Now, if you're going to invest in a gimbal head, don't just go and buy a $50 or $60 gimbal head, because these heads are manufactured very cheap. And although they're great for photos, when it comes to video, like this one here, all I have is a knob here to tighten when I'm going left to right and a knob for up and down. The knob here from left to right is very sticky. You can hear it. So it means when I'm going from left to right, it's not smooth. It'll jitter like the pan and tilt. I'm getting jerkiness in the video. The same when I'm going up and down. It's smooth, and then it'll be a bit stiff, then it'll be smooth again. So when I'm pointing the camera upwards, I'm getting a very smooth action. Then it'll jerk a bit. Same thing. The videos won't be good. Or we have a fluid head. And a month ago, Fotopro sent me a monopod and a fluid head to do a review on. Because I had the fluid head, I said, well, I know this gimbal is not good. I'm going to leave it at home, and I'm only going to take the pan and tilt head and my fluid head here. And on Friday, all the photos and all the videos were taken with this fluid head, and it was amazing to use. And I would definitely recommend either a gimbal, but if you're spending on a gimbal, you've got to look at least $250, $300. I'm talking Australian dollars here because I'm in Australia, or a fluid head. This fluid head here was a reasonable price, so I'll take this. And it did the job very well. Because the fluid head is spring-loaded, I've got very smooth motion. It's a little bit stiff, but with all this gear on top, it gave me very nice fluid motion going left to right and up, and it was just a joy taking videos like this one here of the roulettes. Now, once we've chosen our gear, the next is how do we set up our camera for taking video? Because taking video on a camera is very different to taking photos. Now let's look at some of these videos, and during these videos I'll give you some pointers on why I chose the certain settings. The first thing is, when we take photos of sports like planes, we are in AFC, autofocus continuous. So as long as we're holding the back button, autofocus down, it's going to lock onto our subject. When we're taking video, we're pushing the record button once and then the camera just takes over. Our AF mode is autofocus full time, so the camera focuses all the time. We don't have to keep holding the AF back button on because the camera is locked onto our subject. But nothing is foolproof, and sometimes the camera will lose focus, and as soon as it loses focus, this is when you've got to be ready to press the AF back button focus on for it to lock back on. My Z6II has a problem with contrast detecting. If your subject and your background is very similar, or if it's a very overcast or there's grayness in the sky, it finds hard locking onto a subject, that sometimes the camera just lost focus. I try to regain focus as quickly as possible and get on with the job of recording video. The next one is your AF mode. Which AF mode you're going to choose. When it comes to planes, to taking video, it is either wide area AF small or wide area AF large. Wide area small gives me a square around my face. Wide area AF large gives me rectangle. And take a look at the freedom formation here. You can see these planes are just moving across the sky from right to left. And it's very smooth because I'm using the fluid head. And on this video, I was using wide area AF large because I've got a group of planes. So the camera has got a lot of places that it can lock onto focus. It can move its focusing point between one plane and another because it's a big area and there's a lot of planes. Some people think, well, I'll just leave it in wide area AF large, even if it's a small plane. That's not going to work because you want to help the camera lock onto your subject as quickly as possible. So you want to have the smallest AF point possible. For me, that is wide area AF small if it's a single plane. Let's take a look at the next video now. So this was the roulette, and here also I was using wide area AF large because it's a big group of planes. Now here's another one of the roulettes. You can see they're just coming in, and here this is something that you just learn to do. You have to decide when you're seeing planes like that around, what are you going to do? There's 5 planes coming in. Are you going to just focus on the first one and then go with the flow to the first, or let some of the planes go out of the frames and then grab probably the second last plane as it's coming through? And that's what I did here. I let the first couple of planes go out of the frame and then followed one of the last planes out. This makes it look so much more impressive because if you're grabbing the first plane, you don't see all the other planes. If you're grabbing towards the end of the group, then you've just seen all the planes go through and it looks so much better. The next part is your shutter speed, your aperture and ISO. Most of the time I was just in manual ISO. I wanted the lowest ISO possible and I was shooting between ISO 100 and ISO 50. On the Z6II I have ISO 100, then I have LO 0.3, LO 0.7 and LO 0.1, and LO 0.1 is ISO 50. So I was trying to keep the ISO as low as possible because I wanted my shutter speed to be as low as possible. The lower your shutter speed, the better it is. And also means that my aperture was around f14 to f18 to get my exposure correct. The best option would be to have an ND filter, like an ND3, 3-stop ND filter, to be able to reduce the amount of light coming into the camera. Next year, I'm going to be using an ND3 filter so that I don't have to use such a high aperture to get the videos that I want. Helicopters are very hard to photograph. When you take videos, you can see the rotor blades are in motion and it just looks so nice. Even though it was a fairly big helicopter, I zoomed in a bit. I was using just wide area AF small, and I just talked about zoomed in. Why did I have it zoomed in? Because it was just about stationary. For a lot of these videos, I wasn't zoomed in to 500, because if something is far from you, it's okay. But you got to remember that at an air show, the plane is going to be a distance from you, then it's going to get much closer. If you're zoomed in too close, when the planes are moving through, it means that it's harder to track. The more zoomed in you are, the harder it is to track, and also the faster the plane is going to move across your frame. There's going to be a huge difference between 300 mils and 500 mils. I never went past 400 mils on the Friday taking video. When I was taking photos, yes, sometimes I went to 500 because I can easily zoom in and out. But when I'm taking video, I don't like zooming. I pick my focal length and I keep to that because it just looks so much better. Video also allows you and allows your viewer to see something that a photo doesn't really show too much. And look at this video here. This is an Osprey. It can be a helicopter or it can be a plane. And look how it's moving around. And I'll just stop it here. I've freeze framed it. Can you see the swirls? That's air being dragged through the blades. It's a swirling motion. And a photo like this, it looks nice. But look at it on video. It just looks amazing because it's in real life. You can see the air just swirling around. This is why video is so much better. And I feel that it's worth the effort to learn how to take videos of planes at an air show if you've got the patience, because you will need patience. Don't think that the first time you go to an air show and take video, everything's going to be great. It's not. It's a challenge. It's like riding a push bike, like learning to drive a car. Practice makes perfect. Even myself on that day, I had a few hassles when I was taking video of this Osprey. Now this video shows when the Osprey is first coming towards me. I lose focus, but I don't stress. I just let off the back button focus, press it again, and now I'm in focus again. Now this video here, the Osprey is going backwards, and here it was a challenge for me. And you can see that the Osprey is going backwards and I'm just jittering. And I've included this video to show you that even when you think you're doing everything right, sometimes it's very hard to predict what the plane is going to do. It was moving forward, I started recording, and all of a sudden it started moving backwards and it just caught me off guard. So I just lost track of it. And this is another thing that you got to remember. Try to keep your plane, your subject, in the center of the frame. And that way, whether it moves right, left, up or down, you've got a better chance of tracking it. And this is why I say don't zoom too far in, because the further you zoom in, so between 300 to 500, the harder it is going to be to track it wherever it's going, unless it's stationary like that helicopter at the start. Here is Emma McDonald. She's a stunt pilot. She flies with Red Bull. It's moving so quickly. There's a bit of jitteriness, and look how quick you've got to move. It's just climbing up. Then this is why you need a very stable tripod head. She's sort of stationary and then she's just flying back down, and they're moving so quickly. And you can see there's a bit of jitteriness there. Then she's flying away from me and she's going to do a turn and come back towards the center here. There's a bit of stuttering there, again, a bit more here, and then she just flies further along. Then up she goes. She's just flying straight up and she's going to do a backwards roll. She's flying upside down now, inverted, and now flying back towards the deck again. You can see with the clouds, she's just going up and down. And there I've lost her, and I'll talk about that in a second. Now look, all of a sudden she's just stationary. And this is what you've got to prepare for, the unexpected. Now she's just flying back down again. Where you saw that it was jittering, and that was because my shutter speed was too high. It was just jittering along, and that is something that I just couldn't control because she was flying too quickly for my settings. Had I had a 3 or a 6 stop ND filter on there and my shutter speed down to around maybe 50th, which was perfect, or 100th of a second, I wouldn't have had that issue. But I was around 1/500 to 1/800th of a second. Way too high normally, but I had to have that shutter speed for what I was doing. So I just accepted that. But you saw how difficult it was, that the plane is going up. And did you notice at one time where I lost the plane? I was able to track it because a lot of these stunt planes, when they're doing their tricks, they've got smoke. So if you lose the plane, just keep an eye on the smoke. Just keep following the smoke. Not quickly, just in a smooth motion, and you'll land back on the plane again. It's as easy as that. And here when I was taking videos of Emma McDonald, I was in wide area AF small. A very small plane, so a very small box to try to keep it on her. Now all these are small planes, but what happens when you're photographing a big plane? Don't think that a big plane can't move very quickly. This next video is of a C-17 Globemaster. They are a huge plane, but they can fly at around 320 knots or 590 kilometers an hour, which is quite fast when they're coming very close to you. And this is a majestic plane. Look at it, it's coming in. It doesn't look like it's flying that fast, and it's just slowly coming in, but it's moving very quickly. And I'm around 300 millimeters here, and it's just getting closer and closer. And here you can start seeing, you're seeing how quickly this plane is just moving across the sky. And this is why I say you don't zoom in too much, because look how much of that frame it filled at 300 mils. Now just flying away from us. This is why it's amazing to take video, because for me it's an adrenaline rush, not only when I'm taking the video, but then when I'm looking on my PC and sharing it on YouTube and on social media. People go like, wow, we've seen photos, but this is another dimension. It's just like us being there. All these videos were taken with the fluid head. This last video here was taken with the Leo photo pan and tilt head. And you'll see why I state that this is not the best. If you've got one and you don't have the finances for a fluid head or a gimbal head, it's okay, but understand that your video could have a bit of jerkiness. So this is Matt Hall. He's just moving so quickly. It looks great now, and all of a sudden you'll start seeing, can you see that's moving across the place? I'm going up and down. Can you see that there's just jerkiness? Look at it. Because I can't lock this pan and tilt head down, I'm just moving across all over the place. If you're just wanting to have fun and just recording, like 10, 15 seconds of video at a time, you'll probably get away with the pan and tilt head. I did last year. But if you really want to get into taking videos at air shows, then you've just got to say, I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to buy a very good gimbal head or a very good fluid head. Thanks for watching. I hope the tips that I've shared during this video has helped you to understand that taking videos is a bit more difficult than taking photos, but it's not unattainable. If I can do it, you can do it too. If you've liked the video, give it a big thumbs up, stay safe, and now enjoy the edited videos that you've just seen.